Hello, Natasha.
Yes.
Can you turn up your volume a little bit more? Okay.
Hello.
I think it's okay if your mic is closer with you.
Tes. Cek cek 1 2 3. Cek 1 2 3.
Sorry, you're still muted.
Welcome to Mobile Legends! You have slain an enemy! Unstoppable! Victory!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Porsimaptar 2020 speech competition. Woo! Congratulations to all of you guys who have already proceeded to the final round. And I'm so sorry, my friend Degi is currently unavailable right now. So I think we would see our other friend, Dea Fajrul, if you may, Dea.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Hi. So Dea, what is our rundown for today's event, for today's final round?
Okay, this is our final round. This is amazing, right? The the participant is the best 5 in Indonesia.
Yeah, exactly. And all of them are quite outstanding based on the speeches that they delivered yesterday.
Wow. Okay. Before that, let me
Right.
inform the participant in this competition. Right.
Yeah. We
Who is
should
the first
tell
participant?
them the order of performing right now. So who will be the first participant there?
Okay. The first participant is from IPDN. Her name is Natasha Ratu Amanda.
Right. And for the second
And
performers we got,
the second is from UGM. Her name is Hervina Adanita. And the third is Polytechnic Negeri and the third is from Polytechnic Negeri Semarang. His name is David Aditya Stumer. And the fourth is from Sekolah Tinggi Teologi Satya Bhakti. His name is Yeremia Samuel. And the fifth is from Communication and Business Institute LSPR. Her name is Ivanka Basarina Panjaitan.
that's right. So
Okay.
they are all of our 5 participants for today. So we would like to remind all of you guys, participants, before we start this competition, be sure that you are already in the right place. I mean, there's no distraction or there's no bad signal there, because this is the final round. This is the real deal, right? There's no redo. So good luck for all of you. And without any further ado, let's just call upon the first participant there.
Okay, Natasha. Let me tell something about this stage. To avoid further miscommunication, please stay up and raise your hand up and say, am I audible or am I clear enough? Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Natasha,
Am I
whenever you're
audible?
ready. Okay. Okay, Natasha, whenever you're ready, you can start the speech.
2 years ago, I wasn't expecting to stand here as a student of Governance Institute of Home Affairs. IPDN is an institute that uses as my military system. I was afraid that I cannot do all of the semi-military system here. My friends said that IPDN have their own way to teach the student discipline by using some specific and very strict rules. For example, one of the rules that really bother me, to be honest, for these past 3 years that I've been a student here, we are not allowed to use a smartphone. Can you imagine? When my friends at my age around there using their smartphone, uploading all of the fun things that they do, me just sitting in the dormitory in my bed, watching their stories through an application on my laptop. But luckily, my institutions are now allow us, Praja, their student, to use our own smartphone in campus. There are so many positive impacts that they give by using the smartphone. I can finally video call my parents at home like almost every day. For information, the other sad thing is I've been here in Sumatra Barat for this past year, a whole year. I'm really far away from my home in Jakarta. Other good thing that comes after the rules is I can finally online shop for my phone. I can order a birthday cake for my sister in Jakarta just scrolling down through an app inside it. But another thing that also has to be highlighted is the caretakers can check my phone anytime and anywhere. They can open my Instagram account, they can open my Line account, and I know that is kind of out of our privacy lines, right? We also not allowed to post anything that related to the government's conflict. Well, we may think that it is our privacy. We have a right to post something, to post our opinion on our social media, right? I once imagined that I often put this opinion all over my head and never get any opportunity to let it out. So I imagine that will my head be exploded by my opinion? Well, we never know. According to hot site of World Social, there are 5.19 billion of people of internet users in the world. It includes 4.54 billion of people that use phones. Amazing, right? There are a lot of people. I cannot deny that in this world, we also need help from that technology. We also need to know about the news that are spreading around the world. But the sad thing is, when we join an application, when we create an account, they always ask for our privacy. They ask for our name, they ask for our age, our date, and place of birth. And it's quite creepy because they know everything about us. Commission of Human Rights said that stealing of privacy data is against of human rights. That's the reality. That's what happened right now. Our personal data are spreading all over the internet. Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? I once used a chatting application with my friend. I said to them via line, I said that I want to eat this food. And when I open the other application, the food advertisement shows right away after I send them a message. Like, how could they know about it? It's crazy, right? By stealing a people information, it would let the victim, it would let the person that steal it do doxing. Doxing is an online attack that allows the hackers to know anything about our personal information and documents. That's really crazy. It blows our mind like it's our personal data. How can you use it really like that? I believe that we born in a generation that really have an amazing mind. If I have to choose between the advanced technology or the privacy that I have to protect, I cannot choose both of them. I cannot choose one of them, sorry. I will definitely choose both of them. How do I do that? I will definitely make a new rule about it. I will try to improve the safety or all of the Indonesian people's personal data. For me, as a future civilian apparator, I will make sure that my public in Indonesia will get what they deserve, the safety of their data. We, as a young generation, have to move forward, think about the thing that out of context, not by choosing on something between both of them, but we can choose both of it. So, what I'm trying to say is, why do we need to choose when we can make another innovation that could definitely bring us to a better world, better than ever? So, I am Natasha Ratu Amanda from Governance Institute of Home Affairs, asking all of us to be brave enough to stand forward to improve all of the skills of our safety and personal data. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Goodbye.
Thank you, Natasha. You spent your time 6 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yes.
All right, what a speech. To be honest, we're here from the committee are very curious on what you're going to say, especially that we kind of came from an institution as well. But the thing that I always wanted to be answered when it comes to this kind of question is why do we need to protect our personal data? What kind of personal data that we are actually trying to protect? Is it my birthday? Hey, a lot of people knows my birthday and yet nobody celebrates it anyway.
Okay,
But
Degi,
I
that's
guess,
a question to be asked for another day.
yeah,
So let's just move on, okay?
let us call
Yes.
our judges that will give the question. For
Uh,
Natasha, please remember, when you're about to answer the question, please raise your hand so that our timer will correctly time your answer. Is that
and don't
Okay.
forget,
clear?
you have 2 minutes each to answer every question. So 2 minutes to answer each questions, okay? All right. So Degi, let's call up
Oh,
upon our judges.
all right. First, let us call our judges. Please, Judge Rabita, if you would like to ask the question now, perhaps.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello Natasha. Am I audible enough for you? Or can anyone else confirm on whether I'm
You
audible
are
enough? Okay.
audible enough.
All right, that's good. Okay. I was very interested in one of the very first solution that you brought up during your speech, and I quote from you. You mentioned that one of your solution was that you are willing to make a new rule to improve the safety of Indonesian people's data. So my question is, it's a very simple question. In terms of a breach of data privacy, we all know that the people behind the breach might not necessarily be people with the same nationality like us. It might be companies who reside abroad. It might be individuals who reside abroad. So do you think making a rule basically directed for Indonesian people would be enough to protect us or not? Thank you. Is it just me or I don't see Natasha in the Zoom meeting right now?
Sorry, Judge. Our participant Natasha Ratu have an electrical problem. And how about that, Abraham?
Let's perhaps give her a minute so that we can make sure that she can get it fixed on time. But if we aren't able to connect with her, and in a few minutes, we are going to move on to the next participants and save the question later. For Judge, please wait. Let's give Natasha a little bit of a time so that she can get back to our Zoom meeting. Thank you very much.
Hello? Can you hear me? I'm sorry for the technical problem. Can you guys hear?
Yes, I can hear you well, but I think your video is still deactivated. Okay,
Hello?
perfect.
I really am sorry for the technical problem, judges.
That's fine. So would you like me to repeat the question? Did you catch the last one, or would you
I
like?
already heard the question from another device.
Okay, perfect. So I believe you have 2 minutes. Am I right?
Okay,
Okay.
Natasha, your time is on right now. 2 minutes from now.
Okay.
You don't have to. Your time is
Oh.
clocking.
Okay. I will definitely make a rules first from the Indonesian people because that in my experience, those people from the out of our countries is they often steal our identity in another case. Oh, I'm sorry. I will start to make a rules from our people in the country first. And then if I see that the rules is completely can help and give a significant impact to Indonesian people, I'll definitely make another rules for the people other than an Indonesian people. So what I'm talking about is I need to make sure first about the rules in Indonesia. Is it effective or efficient? And if not, I I will definitely make an evaluation so I can make another rules that give impact to our country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Natasha. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. So before we're moving on to the next judge, we would like to rephrase our rules that your time will be your time is starting right after the judge finish their question. So we want to make sure that your answer is spontaneous. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So moving on, Judge Habibah, if you may.
Okay, so because you study political science and government, I study political science and government. The very idea of internet and data are very new in the context of political science or governance itself. Some said the internet or data has lack of governance. Some said you have no rights to govern the internet or you have no rights to govern that data because those are not subject to be governed. So my question is, to what extent can government be involved in such matters such as data and internet? And just for my second question, just answer it very briefly. If you are a you are a decision maker, you said that you're going to make some rules. See, the thing is, what kind of rule? So you have to just say, like, in one sentence, like, oh, the rule is I will assure this, just answer it in the very short phrase. So those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Something.
Thank you for the question. I think the governance can do some because they take the role. They take the role in our environment. They take everything. So I think what government can do is they just need to make sure that the public, the Indonesian public, is really understand about this how to wear it. I mean, they have to give a socialization which contains a study that shows to the public of Indonesia that this is an important case and this is not a case that should be easy in our eyes. We have to take it seriously because if our data is spreading all over the world, we all know that it's called doxing, like I've said in my speech. So I think that's what governments can do. And about the rules that I will make, I would definitely put that if someone is actually really doing that, selling our personal data and information, I won't be silent. I will take a serious step on it. I will definitely put that person into a jail, but in other way. I mean, like when we can give another rehabilitation for them, like we have to tell them about it's not good to do this thing. It can harm himself and our country's self. Like, yeah, I mean, I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Natasha. And thank you, Judge Habibah. Next up, we call upon Judge Amanda, if you may. The time's yours.
Yes. Hello, Natasha. We meet again. Thank you for your speech.
Hello.
It was amazing. So I'm going to really go straight into your last solution. I think you mentioned a one-liner about bringing better innovation, but I think it was left unexplained about what kind of better innovations are you really talking about. Is it from the side of advancing the technology and gathering the data, or protecting the data itself? So please explain that briefly in details. Thank you.
Sorry, can I listen to the question again?
Okay. Can you hear me? Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Turn off.
So, okay, cool. So you mentioned a one-liner of your solution following the policy making and stuff like that. You mentioned about creating a better innovation in terms of responding to your urgency, right? So you left that unexplained. What kind of better innovation are we really talking about? Is it from the side of advancing the technology in gathering the data or protecting the data itself? Please explain it in details and brief. Thank you.
Timer on.
Okay. Thank you for the question, Judge Amanda. I will answer right away. So I will make a harmony with the technology. What does it mean, harmony with the technology? We don't, like what I've said in the speech, we don't have to choose between our privacy and the technology because both of it can be put together in a sentence, right? We shouldn't just let the technology control us. We should be the one who control the technology. So I will try to improve the governments in the future. I will try to improve the privacy of our personal data in Indonesia by using the technology that are really plays an important role in our generation these days, right? So I think that's all that we have to do: create a harmony with the technology. Don't let them control us, but we control them. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Judge Amanda and Natasha. That was quite an outstanding performance by Natasha, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Degi and Dea, what do you guys think about this?
Well, first, I would like to say again something that we committee would like to say one more time is that there is no tolerance whether if you have any problems in your electricity or in your connections. When it comes to the questions, your timer, I mean, you will be timed after the judge have asked the question. Now, we don't have any saying that the participants might be cheating, but this just to make things fair and to how to say prevent any forms of this kind of cheating in the future. We're not saying that you are might, but we're just saying that so nobody will try to do it. But yes, I totally agree with you, buddy. One heck of an outstanding speech, totally connected, and I can see the point where she is coming, especially from someone that has been studying about the government all this time. How about you, bro, Fadrul?
Okay, I think the speech was impressive, and her answer, who given by the judges, was very incredible, and I amazed by her. And then we now we have to next participant and the second participant. Thank you. Who is the next participant?
Oh, I don't know. I guess this one might be someone that is also special because Daphne has joined so many competitions that I've remembered the name.
And
For the
who would that be, Degi?
Well, for that, let us call our next participant, that is Herfina.
Woo! I'm sorry. Wait. Oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry.
It's okay, no need to be nervous.
Okay, keep calm. Arifina, are you ready?
Okay, I'm sorry for the distraction. All right.
Okay, it's okay.
All right. So the speech start when my hand is raising, right?
Right? Okay.
Okay. Wait. Wait a minute. Am I looking at the camera right now? Hello?
Yeah. It's good.
Okay. We all know some crucial issues in digital privacy do not always make it to the headline news. Well, unless if there are celebrities unleaked nudes. Oops. To all the respected audiences, we have virtually met for several times now. But have you all got an idea who am I actually? Now I want you all to do this for me. Please go through your favorite search engine, be it Google, Safari, or Firefox, you name it. Type my full name, Hervina Danita, then just go on scrolling and dive deeper on it. Have you done it? Now, which information about me that you have successfully collected? My Facebook account, my LinkedIn account, and any other social media link? Or probably you can even find my totally embarrassing childhood photos. Jackpot, lucky of you if you can find the straight ones. Now, let me get you all to the point. As if you all can access this data easily, meaning that it is me and my consent which has agreed to intentionally provided this data to be consumed for the public, especially where the recent workfield these days pursue their next candidates to sort of like framing their self-branding through social media and also the internet. So normally I post and share my data on different platforms without even firstly considering about who will see it or who will use it for certain purposes. Because anyway, now those data are actually public data. But there is this moment when you start to open to public about yourself, sharing about your daily activities, also almost every single personal side about yourself. Of course, firstly, you meaning that this is only for a personal consumptions, meaning that you are hoping for an exchange information towards your society, friends, and family, for example. But what if I expose you to the fact that all of these commercial applications such as Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and almost any other social media you are currently using right now are utilizing your data to make or to gain profit? You may think that "Meh, I'm such a boring person. My information I have shared won't mean anything for anyone." Well, not that boring if you are leaving some online footprints, such as all of the videos that you have watched, your current search on abortions or mental health issues, etc. Without your consent, this accumulation of data are heading towards the second reuses, which probably now is already in the hand of an unknown feelings. Who are they to be precise? Name it third parties or any irresponsible companies that is trying to extract this personal data so that they can possibly take advantages of. In a matter of a few hours, these unknown feelings can know about yourself much better rather than your significant partners or your parents does. Your personal data and privacy is now unfortunately totally out of your control. This is when things actually become very complicated because people are not even thinking that they are contributing to that kind of sample. Even though if we are aware enough, we actually have said, quote unquote, yes, I agree towards the terms and condition in such application which wanted us to be agreed upon so that we can get the benefits from the applications. But to whom actually are they utilizing our data to gain informations? Now, what if I told you that it is not only companies that wanted to using this data to maybe target suitable customer for their commercial advertisements, but also the government? Yes, our honorable government, which is trying to maintaining their power. How come it could be, Vina? So there is this unpopular opinion which stated that power is what makes the government dangerous. Further, an attempt to increase the government power can be reflected by the execution of government surveillance. Surveillance is one of the steps taken by the US government in order to watch the movements of suspected terrorist groups. But unexpectedly, the leak of government classified documents by former National Security Agency contractor Edward Snowden has shown that the US government has other objectives in using its surveillance system. Well, benefiting the governments, of course, but at the same time, they are risking the privacy of their citizens. Not only secretly recording phone conversation of each their innocent citizens, moreover, they can also simply ask Google Incorporation Company for the copy of your personal information because they are actually considered as the miniature arms of the government. This is actually where the safety of our privacy gets endangered. Because the more technology gets advanced, then there will be no tangible evidence of damage that can be seen, right? Because we could not see any intrusions happening in the back of that technology. People will not even know whether their perimeters of privacy have been disrupted or not. Therefore, the more modernized the era is, our connections with the internet has reached an unprecedented level of connectedness, in which we could not disdain our life with digital technology. But in some point, just because the world has become technologically sophisticated in terms of surveilling every part of our life, it necessarily does not mean we can lose our ownership of our own very personal data. Because it is very crucial to start recognizing our own privacy value and starts to demand for transparency. Actually, the more I learn about these topics, the more I want to disconnect myself from the internet, honestly. But I know that this is not an easy task to do. Thus, my personal suggestions would be, we all can still take the benefits of the internet, of course, but to regaining our degree of privacy, for instance, in the matter of only looking for required informations, we can switch our account into anonymity and go onto the web browser instead of going to search engine like Google that is usually requires lots of personal data. And instead of sharing and saving our personal data to Dropbox or Google Drive, in which we consider it as more efficient and such a safer method, why don't we try to embrace the manual methods? You can write it down on your notes and keep it safe by yourself. After all, old school way is not always a bad idea. But if you are forced to share your personal data to the internet, then you must draw a bold line between which one should be shared and which one should not, because actually the vulnerability in any person's security and privacy is in themselves. Because no matter how advanced they are, the provider technology is advanced in technological method, device are harder to crack than a person. Thank you very much. I think that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Hervina. You spent the time 7 minutes and 15 seconds. So, Degi, any thoughts?
Yeah, to be honest, after listening to all of our participants, just two of them already talking about the dangers of our personal data getting stolen. I'm definitely thinking about putting it in the internet. Perhaps the old school book will suffice. I don't know. Let's hear it from the judges.
All right. Kak Bita, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Wisnu and Degi. Hi, Hafina. Really nice to see you again today, wearing that alma mater suit. I happened to lost mine years ago, but let's move on to the question. A very good point that you brought up was that it's inevitable that these days governments, they basically use private data to conduct security surveillance. So the question is actually very simple. You know, as a citizen, if we do own the right to privacy, if as a citizen, you and I, we have the right to privacy, do you think such right is an absolute right, or is it derogable? And if you think it's absolute, why so? If you think that the right to privacy is derogable, based on what reasons can a party basically legally breach our data? For what reason do you think such circumstances are possible? Thank you, Herfina.
I'm on.
You're still muted, I believe.
Okay, so according to your questions, thank you for the questions, Karabita. So according to my opinion, I think that data right is an absolute human right. Why? Because it is important for us as a civil society to insist that somebody should try to protect our privacy and our data. Because right now, as we all know, it is not happening. We should done this simply because humanity is fundamentally a lot stronger than digital media. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Hervina.
I hope it answers your question thoroughly.
Okay, thank you, Hervina, and thank you, Kabita. Next up, we got Judge Habibah, if you may ask your question.
One, I think you did a really good job. And two, I think for most of the time, since I do big research on big data, people are not aware the extent of data and how data can be used against us or for us in the field of big data. For example, in a time of election, things that are seemingly don't matter, like our our age, our favorite movie, our favorite food, could actually be used to utilize to tell whether or not knowing these things could help us tell whether or not you are a Republican or a Democrat just by simply knowing what kind of favorite food or favorite movie that you like. So in this case, my question is very simple. Should media social, so all those media social companies, be held responsible for the spread of our data out for political purposes? Media social such as Facebook, Instagram, all those that collect our data, should they be held responsible if they're using our data for political purpose? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you very much, Kabiba. It was a very intriguing questions. So firstly, I think we need to emphasize the understanding that there is nothing that comes for free in life. We know that there is some sort of like value exchange for those free apps and services and social medias, and that our information, including our political mindset, is collected and stored, even shared, even being used for them. Actually, these social media applications which demand our personal data are using this kind of privacy in the name of formality in order to actually just to identify us as an individual or as the user. However, I believe that even though they know our political perspective, we can still manage which one is generally normal to be shared or to be known by anyone else. But actually, what scares me is, as what I have elaborated on my speech, is on the second reuse of the data that probably may be unwittingly being abused by the unknown feelings. And what happens to it is that we simply have no control of that. So it's really about, having understanding of what you think, what you consider about the trade-off from any application in social media that you are currently used to. Thank you very much, Kak. I hope that answers your questions thoroughly.
All right, thank you, Kak Habibah.
Now let us call Judge Amanda to ask her question.
Okay, hello, Herfina. Nice to see you here again. I hope I'm audible enough for you. So I would like to bridge out the question from Rabita also, because I was interested in your idea of how privacy is actually an absolute right for every single citizen to have. But let's talk about, a lot more specific case. Let's talk in the larger scale. We know that the states, along with the Soviet, for example, has a common mechanism in purchasing personal data through application users and use it for, as how you say it, surveillance and counter unneeded war, for example. So that works majorly for upholding the safety for the whole nation, right? With what you said, would you say that you would sacrifice the security of this mechanism actually provides to fight individuals' privacy or not? Please give more reasoning briefly. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your questions.
Okay.
Amanda.
Okay, so briefly, you said that privacy is an absolute right for the citizen, right? So
Yeah.
you would say, so would you actually say that you would sacrifice the security this mechanism provides, the one that governments actually takes away your data and stuff like that, to fight for individuals' privacy or not? Please give reasoning to it. Thank you.
Time on.
Okay, so These all advancements in technologies actually gives benefits to the law enforcement actually, because it is make it the process of law enforcement easier to be accessed to access maybe people's informations and people's private activities. By then, yes, you're right. It raises important civil liberties questions, I would say. At the same time, it also arising new challenges that must be faced, in which discuss whether the laws could keep up with the evolution of the technology, which is must be done, or whether they could maintain the protections of privacy and civil liberties. I think that's the challenge that we need to face these days for our law enforcement stakeholder. I hope that answer your questions thoroughly.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right, thank you, Kamanda, for the question, and thank you all judges for all of the questions for Hervina. Thank you so much for the great performance. Now, Degi, what do we got next? I'm sorry, you're still muted, Degi. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, one really like the question that Judge Amanda gave, especially coming from us that are studying to be the future law enforcer. But I guess that's my opinion needs to be taken aback. And let us call our next participant, that is David. David, the time's yours.
Hey, thank you very much. First of all, am I audible?
Loud and clear, David.
Okay. Ever experienced getting ads on several websites of things you've opened before? Or maybe constantly getting recommendations of YouTube videos you've once watched, but keep on getting like over and over again in your homepage? Or maybe getting posts on your explore page and Instagram of content you often open, see, or like, even getting the ads of them as well. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called the algorithm. Some may say that something like the algorithm is invading personal privacy, but some may also say as well that it's a good thing because they're only able to see contents they like. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's technology for you. Good afternoon. My name is David from Polytechnic Negeri Semarang, and in today's topic, we'll be going back to explore the digital era by understanding the technology that is so often used right now. So over here, I'll try to keep my opinions as neutral as possible because yes, technology does have their fair share of pros and cons. So now let's go back to several decades from now when technology was really found in the first place. So the first ever computer found was the ENIAC, which was found in the 1940s. And of course, it's not as compact as computers we're using right now because the size of it was massive and huge. So the ENIAC, or the Electronical Numerical Integrator calculator, like its name, mostly is used for calculating and counting. But the real computer, with the various hardwares and softwares as we know as the PC or the personal computer now, were founded in the mid to late 70s, and in the 80s, computers started to boom. Like most offices and even regular people started to have these computers. Not to mention, not only the computers, but cellular phones as well were created around the 70s and started to boom around the 80s. This can be said as the fresh start of the rise of technology because, well, more and more people started to use these devices. And then came the game-changing World Wide Web, which I call game-changing, yes, because it really changes everything and started showing how technology could be like that much advanced in the future, which is right now. So the internet here was actually found in the 60s, but like I mentioned yesterday in my speech, it was only used for military and government purposes. Then came the World Wide Web, which was the real game changer and a stepping stone for technology. Then in the midst of the 21st century came a marvel of technology as we call now the smartphones. So not only the World Wide Web here, but these smartphones were also like the true game changers, but for the 21st century era. Like we barely see people not using smartphones right now, and most youngsters probably use them as like one of their primary needs. So, okay, but enough with the historical talk, and let's get to the real deal here, which is how technology has developed being both an advantage and a disadvantage to humanity. So first, let's see it in the human advancement point of view, which is, of course, the positive side. So technology provides people an alternative from their conventional ways, and not to mention it also makes their life easier. Let's see several notable examples, like with cell phones and medias like video calls or even normal calls. It can connect people together without needing them to be at like the same place. Like what we're doing right now in this competition is one of the implementation actually of how much easier our lives become because of technology, especially during like a pandemic like this, where we really need to minimize human to human contact. And another one of these technologies, which really makes our lives easier, are the application that we have in our devices. Kind of like, for example, online services like Gojek or Grab, which makes it easier for us to like find vehicles or order food online. And then online travel apps like Traveloka or Booking.com, which makes it easier for us to like book flights, trains, hotels, and book our future travel plans. Then online shops like Shopee and Tokopedia, which allows us to purchase items without us needing to go out and waste energy on going to a store. And also not to forget social media, which really keeps us updated and connected to our dearest friends and family without needing to visit them that very often. So yes, that's really how impactful technology is towards making our lives easier. But you know, when there is a positive side, a negative side will always follow. Like the theme of this speech, the urgent matter that actually makes technology a dangerous tool is the privacy of the people using it. That's right, the privacy of each individuals are at stake due to how advanced technology can be. Let's take a look at Sweden, a country with rich human advancements. So now thousands of Swedes have microchips planted into their hands. Yes, microchips. These microchips were actually designed to make their lives easier by making them easily accessing homes, offices, and making payments. It's as easy as just swiping their hands against digital readers. But can you imagine how these microchips could affect their privacy? Like imagine the government knowing about your whereabouts and track records from these microchips you have in your hand. And another example is our daily use of internet and applications. Like you must be thinking, why is this included in the negative side of technology as well? Well, there's one keyword for it, that is your data. So believe it or not, your data on the internet can or cannot be safe. Why so? Remember what happened to Zoom and Tokopedia where users' accounts were put up for sale to unknown sources? Or the US's demands to co-manage users' data on TikTok? Even the most recent one that we just knew about, the US military getting data from Muslim pro users, that not only makes the Muslim minorities in the West have their privacy invaded, but receive discrimination at the same time. I mean, just even look at the whole concept of the algorithm. Can we really say that we are protected and secure from technology in this era? So something like this actually reminds me of a movie titled from the 80s, titled 1984, that was adapted from a book from the same title written by George Orwell. So there was like this futuristic society where they were looked over by this big brother who was constantly observing movements and actions they did. The fact that something they thought was fictional back in the 80s, even in the 50s when the book was written, is actually happening right now, like the microchips in Sweden. Oh, and also not to forget about the social credit system happening in China that actually monitors people's like behaviors and movements across the country in real time to make sure they obey the laws. If this is how technology is taking over the world, how exactly could we keep our privacy safe? So to conclude this all, technology is a really, really useful tool for humanity, but we must be careful and stay cautious on using it because, well, our privacy is at stake here. We should be more wise, of course, in using technology because yes, technology is a blessing, but it could also be a curse and a downfall to humanity as well if we do not use it more carefully. I'm David from Bolines, and I hope this speech proves useful. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Your time is 7 minutes and 13 seconds. All right, so what do you think about that, Degi?
Did enough from me. Let's hear it from Fajrul.
Fajrul.
Fajrul, you're up, bro.
I think the speech we're talking about algorithm, right?
Yes, correct. I did mention a little bit about the algorithm.
That is incredible, and I just know that. So this new for me.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of new for all of us right now.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the judges.
Let's move on.
First judge, Kak Habibah, if you may.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, I heard you said that you took a more neutral stance towards technology.
That's right.
Here, I want to know more about, but then you talk a little bit more about the utilizations of technology itself that includes surveillance or like that could be borderline discriminatory, etc., etc. So here, in that very rich and full of power and structure matter, what does it truly meant to be neutral toward technology?
Okay. For me, being neutral towards technology is something like embracing technology and accepting the current advancements that we have right now, but not giving in completely to technology like 100%. Like what I said in my speech before, why it makes technology dangerous because of these kind of data breaches and things like that. But we can't ignore the fact that we need technology in an era like this, because like the reason of the 21st century, like the whole point of the 21st century, when we talk of, for example, to our grandkids and our successors, like the 21st century will be known as the digital era first before anything else. So that is how impactful technology is to the world, and that is why we have to find like a middle stance over here and like a neutral side, because yes, technology can be dangerous, but it is very useful at the same time. And I want to give an example like why I am completely neutral, and especially in technology. Like maybe I'm gonna bring up something like a data breaching, for example. To be honest, I do not support data breaching because it invades people's privacy. People want their privacy to keep them to themselves and their friends, no one else. Like they don't want people to know about them if they don't even know about them as well. But the problem is with the high ratings of crime that happens in the world right now, it is hard to ignore that this like the special forces and also the police, like the only way they could track movements of technology, movements of these people who committed these crimes or committed these unlawful acts is by this technology itself. So that's why I try to be completely neutral, because even if I was asked to pick a side, I wouldn't know which one to pick, because both are advantage and disadvantage at the same time. I think that's all. Thank you.
Yes, in a sense, you actually took a side. You were taking a side towards humans. So like you're not siding with technology, but you're siding in the best of human betterment. Thank you.
Okay, maybe that was indirectly.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you, Kak Habibah. And
Oh,
next
very
up,
nice. Let us
right.
call the next judge. If Judge Amanda would like to ask the question, time's yours.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for the beautiful speech. So we know that what already happened, right? We couldn't bear the advancements wave of technology and stuff like that. So focusing it on privacy and how it is our responsibility to keep it confidential. If you were to encourage people in doing this, what type of campaign would you establish and how it will actually reach your goal? You know, minding our role as, for example, as university students and stuff like that. So please do explain it briefly. Thank you.
Could I ask one more time? Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Okay, people keep asking me this. I'm sorry if I speak too fast, you guys. Okay,
It's all right. It's completely fine.
Okay, so focusing it on our privacy and how it is our own responsibility to keep it confidential. If you were to encourage people in doing this, what type of campaign would you establish and how will it actually reach your goal at the very end? Thank you.
Okay. So if I could make a campaign to make like this movement to keep this privacy confidential, it means that indirectly it will side to the humans, not the government. What I will do is make a campaign that, because, well, technology here, we can't really how do I say it? We can't really control technology because like technology is already way too big right now in the 21st century era. Like even though, for example, if I do make campaigns about like realizing the government and like these these people who take on technology, or even people who take on the internet, saying that our privacy, for example, I say our privacy is our rights, and then we make a movement like that, like maybe that can make a change, but only to a small part of the internet, like maybe for a certain social media or a certain stakeholder, but it can change the whole internet. So the point is, over here, what I'll try to make a movement, which I can say is the win-win solution for everyone, is make a campaign to kind of like limit people from putting in their privacy or their personal data on the internet. Because like I said before, the internet is an unpredictable wild jungle that we don't even know the whole thing about there. So that's why if I say I could make a campaign, I would make it kind of like, yes, like we have the rights to keep our privacy, but we also have to think smart to also not put all of our privacy and all of our personal info in the internet itself, because our privacy, well, it actually depends on each person, because each person have their own set of thinking and they have their own minds. But if it would be from me, I would make a campaign like that to keep our privacy to ourselves and don't leak it too much to the internet or social media.
Thank you.
Used to.
All right, thank you, Kak Amanda, for the question. And next up, Kak Bita, if you may.
Okay. Hi, David. Really nice to see you again today.
Nice to
Last
see you
question
too.
is from me. I am going to give you a little bit of a context, and what I'm expecting from you is purely an opinion-based answer. So there is no right or wrong answer to this. And the reason why I'm using this approach is because I felt like you provide so many real examples of what one application could do to utilize your data, et cetera, et cetera. So you mentioned that, these days we have Instagram algorithms. Some people saying that it's a breach of data privacy. Some people saying it's not. One of the most recent case that we got at the beginning of the pandemic is that the Zoom meeting application, the one that we're using right now, they have a problem with breach of data privacy. But a very interesting point is that for someone like me, even as a law school student, I rarely ever read the terms and conditions of an application from the beginning till the end. I only click, I accept the terms and conditions.
Same.
Meanwhile, after reading carefully regarding the Zoom terms and condition, they actually have a provision that says, as a user, we consented for the application to utilize our data to their wish. So by the time I said I accept the terms and condition without reading it, I actually consented for the company to use my data to whatever purpose they want to use. Would you consider that a breach of data privacy or not?
Okay, thank you for the interesting question. To be honest, I'm a little torn on this because I can see it in the both sides, so I'll try to answer it in both points of views. So first, in the point of view of breaching data. So why at first I see it as a breach of privacy, because, well, these social media platforms like Zoom, for example, they already gave like a notice to people, but well, actually they've got no rights to like contain these information from people. Like, what are they going to use it for if they're really just going to use it for like selling it to unknown sources or selling it to the black market, for example? This is what, in my opinion, is invading people's privacy a lot, because not only are they keeping your privacy, but they're also spreading it out to the wider part of the the internet, which is why I say it is invading people's privacy a lot. But and at another point of view, actually, that you mentioned, to be honest, I just knew about that Zoom had those terms and conditions, and I'm gonna be honest here, I didn't even read those terms and conditions even before I used Zoom. But from that point of view, I'm going to say that people need to be more responsible to read because, well, unfortunately, even facts show that Indonesia is kind of low on literacy. So even just by not being able to read terms and conditions because of thinking like oh, probably all terms and conditions for all applications are pretty much the same. So I'm just going to click right away so I can get started into the application. So I think it is highly reasoned, like the cause of it is highly because of people not wanting to, well, read first before using the application. So that is pretty much my answer for that. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Kabita, for the question. And thank you so much, David, for the amazing performance that you have delivered. Okay, Degi.
Yeah. After listening to the answer, let's now call our fourth participant.
Our fourth participant is from Sekolah Tinggi Teologi Satya Bhakti.
So Samuel, time's yours.
Am I audible enough for you to hear? And am I clear enough for you to see?
Yes, looking good, brother.
All right, thanks. Hi! This program has been interrupted by the government. Hello! I am from the government, and this is totally not satirical. We, the government, appreciate your privacy. We appreciate it so much. We actually want to know all about it. Back in January 24, our President Joko Widodo has signed a framework for a bill that would defend data privacy, called the PDP bill. And you see, when the president does it, the legislative body of our country will do it right away, right? Of course not. Well, what we do instead is mute mics of the opposition, leg up to foreign investors, have people taken away their rights, and even try to
Excuse me, Eremia. We need to see your face.
Okay, would have people.
No, you can repeat again from the first time.
Okay, all right.
You can restart.
Okay, it's not allowed to have a prop like that. Okay.
Yeah, you can use that prop, but you need to still see your face.
Oh yeah, so you can see.
And I've already told you that you need to stand up, and we can see all of this.
Okay. Sorry. The time's still ticking. Should I go on?
Okay.
No, we're gonna restart it.
Okay, you want to restart it. Thank you so much. Okay. Can you start the timer, please? All right. Hello, I am from the Indonesian government, and we in the Indonesian government totally cares about your privacy. We care about it so much, we want to know all about it. Now, back in the 24th of January, earlier this year, our president has signed a framework to form a PDP bill, that is Protection of Data Privacy Bill, for the legislative body of our country to sign upon. But instead of signing and working on something that would protect our data, instead we muted the mics of oppositions, we take away the rights of labor, and lit up to foreign investors. And we even tried to introduce a bill that would have you people that don't heteronormatively have gender identity or sexual orientation to report yourselves to the government. Shows how much we care about your privacy. Well, what we don't want you to do is surely realize that the problem is not in the government. The problem is with the technology. Yeah, technology is the problem. It's totally not us using your information. It's totally not us breaching your trust. It's totally not us. And this is totally not a satirical information. Well, now that was interesting, but it's true. If I'm the government, the last thing I want you to know is that the technology that you use is actually neutral. The blame is not, should be on the technology. The blame should always be on the person using that technology in a bad way. So today, inspired from my beautiful favorite food, Burger King Double Whopper Jr., I am going to talk about Patty. P-A-T-T-I-H. Privacy and technology together in harmony. And how do we get Patty? Well, just like a burger patty, someone needs to work for it. And what we need for a patty is PVC. Perseverance, valiance, and communication. And from what I know, New Zealand's got a lot of that. Earlier in August this year, the New Zealand government, led by Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, passed a protection bill of privacy data. So you see, it's called the Privacy Act of 2020. And how did this all start? It started with a young representative from Central Auckland named Chloe Schwarbrick. She's famous for the OK Boomer incident in Parliament. And she actually did what I would say PVC, perseverance, valiance, and communication, to get a bill signed from a whole majority of the parties to protect privacy and data security. So you see what PVC can do. You see what a single person with perseverance and valiance in communicating their ideas can do. The OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, created a guideline for privacy back in 1980. And it's so outdated that a bunch of PVCs protested against it. And guess what? It worked. It actually worked. The people from the OECD had to revise their guidelines not once, not twice, but 5 times. That's a huge victory for Patty. So, my friends, I thought to myself, where can I find myself some PVC so I can have some Patty? Turns out, I'm talking to 4 contestants, excellent communicators in the finals of a speech competition. I'm talking to 3 wonderful and beautiful judges, and I'm talking to a bunch of English-speaking future public servants. If I want to look for PVC, I don't think I have to look any way further than right here. Varonis, a United States-based software company, published a statistical data that shows 68% of the people, young people aged 10 to 24, thinks that their government does not do enough to provide privacy and security for data. That's a lot of people. That is over 42.2 million people, young people with opinions, and they all want patty. They all want privacy and technology together in harmony. So, as Mahatma Gandhi famously said, be the change you want to see in this world. You're not alone. If you want patty, you're not alone. You have a lot of friends that want patty to be a reality. Patty is not a far-fetched dream. It is a standard of living. And there is no such thing as a perfect solution. But it's better than just being pessimistic and to do nothing. So start doing something. Voice your concerns as a PVC, persistently, valiantly, and communicating it effectively. And history will show and will remember us as those PVCs who stood up for patents. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Yeremia. Your time is 6 minutes and 45 seconds.
From us, the committee.
Sorry, I was electrocuted.
Yes. From us committee, now once again, we would like to remind to all of the participants that we all must have a clear vision of where you are facing, also the part of your body that is visible that was agreed on our technical meetings. Any violations of such agreement um, can be responded by the diminishing of the score itself. That is, of course, determined by the judges. So for our last participant,
Wait, hold on,
please
Deji.
after this remember. So before we get to that, I know, hold your horses. Let us hear the questions from our three judges.
All right, so for Kak Amanda, if you may, the time is yours.
Yes, thank you, Yeremia. That was a very good improvisation, and that was really intriguing to be heard, of course, by by the audiences. But I'm kind of want to get back to my first question to Hervina Adanita. I think I really want to ask that to you again. So you know how this data gathering, this collecting personnel data from the government actually works in the terms of how they want surveillance and to counter unneeded war by the government, right? So that's the kind of mechanism that the government imposed. So that works majorly for upholding the safety of the whole nation. We know that. So with that, would you say that you would sacrifice the security of this mechanism provides to actually fight individuals' privacy or not? Please give more reasoning to that. Thank you.
All right, the OECD actually has a guideline for that. I think you should open that up let me check my notes. I'm allowed to check my notes. Third article. So it stated that all privacy breaches should be done in the name of the people. So they are doing privacy breach. So I understand that you're asking me for my opinion, but I would refer you to the opinion that we have as the world leaders have today. They're all okay with privacy breaching in the name of social security. So I'm gonna agree with sacrificing personal privacy and having the system be able to, if needed with special circumstances, to use the data that they have collected from us through technology or even through other terms and other ways. Because I believe in social participation. If you are to voice out your concerns, you are totally allowed to do it. But you must remember that this world is not, you're not the only person living in this world. And if it is for the greater good, I would totally agree with using privacy, breaching someone's privacy on a basis for greater good and security. Okay, I hope that really answers the question.
That really answers the question. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Kak Amanda, for the question. And next, we got Kak Bita, if you may ask the question.
Okay, thank you, Wisnu, and thank you, Yeremia. I am audible to you, right?
Yep, yes.
Okay, so a very interesting introduction that you got there, and I would like to link that to the prompt of today's speech, which was about the Muslim Pro data transaction with the US government. Because at the beginning of your speech, you basically focused on the perspective of governments, especially head of states. Are you somewhat saying that when there exists an act of data breach, if the actors behind that are different in a sense that one is conducted by the government and one is conducted by a private company or a non-governmental agency, it would somewhat create a different risk to you? Because what I get from your speech is that you're somewhat implying that when it comes to the government, if they're the one breaching our privacy, it somewhat gets even more severe in terms of risk and consequence. So could you please enlighten me with your perspective on whether the person conducting the data breach actually matters more to you instead of the act of breaching the data itself?
Of course it does. The person using, I already said in the speech, the government doesn't want us to think that they're the ones that's doing this. They want us to blame the technology. They want us to be afraid to post something. They want us to be afraid to put our personal information into the technology and they want us to fear the technology and not put the attention to them. And if your pinpoint on the question is about whether it matters more to me if the person, whether the person is doing it rather than the act itself, of course. The act itself is done. You do stalkings. I know people do stalkings. And well, having it done by the government, which supposed to be a level playing field on every single, I'm talking about Indonesia, every single citizen should have similar rights and should have equality. When you have government offices doing it in a certain manner and in a certain way, it increases the risk of it being used more in a violent and more negative way. Like, what can you do if you can hack someone? Okay, you don't really do a lot of that damage. Really, it does damage, but not really as much as having power like the government. The government should be by the people, for the people. So it should not be them trying to, and they have the power that we entrust in them. The thing is, what is so important is they have the capability to act upon the data if they choose to breach. They have the capability to arrest us or do something dangerous to us, and they impact our lives. So that is why it's dangerous if it's the government. I stand by my point.
Okay, thank you, Kak Bita, for the question. And next up, we got Kak Habibah, if you may ask your question.
Okay, it was super interesting, especially because my research team was doing the preparation for PDP before it got into surface. So we worked really hard on that, a lot of all-nighters to make sure people get what that data is. But then my question is this: in regard of something that is so vast, so big, all over the place, such as data, does having more rules are better or can assure that thing that you said about Patty? Does making more rules about things are better to govern things? Thank you.
I'm not much for big government. I'm not much for big government. And I do think that I said in the speech that there is no such thing as a perfect solution. What this PDP would do and what the Privacy Act of 2020 did for New Zealand is to show that what we think matters. And your question was really about finding out whether more rules equals better regulation and privacy and having this problem solved. And I don't think that is always the case. But in the case for Indonesia, we need it. We need that. I'm a theological student. I always look at things in context. And in Indonesia's context, we need regulations. We don't have any sufficient ones right now. We need this regulation to be passed. We need this legislation to be passed. And I think when you go over to rules, you're always going to go down to implementation and interpretation of those laws and rules. You're going to always go down to the enforcement of those rules. That is why I wanted to add, if someone asked me about how do we actually practically do this, I would say go to Ombudsman, click the button for the whistleblower feature. You can do that stuff. And it's easy to be pessimistic about new rules. It's easy to see that, oh, it's not working. The rules we have, we're not doing, but it's better than nothing. And no rules, no solutions are perfect. So that is my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kak Habibah, for the question, and thank you, Yeremia, for another outstanding performance.
Very
Also
outstanding indeed.
very inspiring.
Now, of course, without any further ado, let us call the last, but of course not the least, let us call Ivanka from LSPR. Time's yours.
All right, can everyone hear me clearly and see me clearly?
Yep, crystal clear.
Okay. All right, timer starts when I raise my hand, right?
Yep.
Amanda Margaret, our judge in the speech competition, a naval architecture student from Universitas Diponegoro. Most of us know her with these titles by her name. She lives in Bali. That's cool. But did you know that she is also a published author who loves photography and film, is incredibly artistic, spoke in a TED Talk, and cares deeply about mental health? And at a point in her life, she found Emma Watson's brother to be attractive. Habiba Hasna Hermanadi. You know where I'm going with this. A political science student from University of Delhi, who is also an author of many articles, very passionate and has great depth in politics and international relations. And to make her smile, you can show her a cat. Hence, everyone, this is Jean-Philippe. Miss Habiba is a cat lover. Last but definitely not least, Rabita Madina, a golden 5-star top-tier law student from Universitas Gajah Mada, who also loves to travel and being challenged at competitions. But little did you know that she loves Oreos and dogs, especially that resembles wolves. But I'm sorry, Miss Vita, I unfortunately do not have a husky with me today. You see, I am not a close friend of any of our 3 beautiful and highly accomplished judges. Everything I told you came from information I found online. And as a marketing student, I know that Miss Amanda would enjoy video and photo editing software offers or recommendations of new cameras and gears. I know that Miss Habiba would be interested in reading the latest news, magazine or paper subscriptions, and cat food. And Miss Rabita would definitely enjoy flight and accommodation discounts or even Oreo's new flavors. I have another insight on all of us here. We all have one thing in common. We love free stuff. From silly games that shows ads every time you die or fail a mission to incredibly important part of our life services such as Google, WhatsApp, and Zoom. Let's face it, nothing in this life is free. When we decide to use free services, of course, companies and developers that run it needs to make income to live off of. Ladies and gentlemen, the root of our worries and concern with our privacy being shared and sold is us enjoying free services. It sounds incredibly simple and nonchalant, but expecting electronic services to be free is now embedded psychologically in us humans. And our data is mostly bought by companies to get a much better understanding of the way their consumers behave online, define their overall demographics, and identify the ways in which they can improve the overall customer experience. And yes, this does include those annoying text message offers or telemarketers offering you to sign up for a credit card, but also for ad personalization purposes, like offering you products you actually enjoy and need. Well, aside from the business purposes, our data on the internet is actually both an obvious advantage, yet could also be a disadvantage from the entirety of us citizens of the world. We could use internet and the data available to accomplish certain things that are much harder to do without, like showing off our accomplishments and getting our dream jobs, or solving criminal cases with the help of data available online. This itself ranges from hackers who find missing people for fun to solving big cases of murder, rapes, hit and runs, stolen items, and many more. It is also completely irrational that people raise their eyebrows to controversial news, such as the recent Muslim Pro case. Stuff like these could cause vulnerability and loopholes for certain diplomatic agendas. But here's the thing. As we can clearly learn from history, solving issues likely create other issues. One day, us humans decide that we want to be able to communicate from a distance. Therefore, the telephone was invented. Years after that, as the majority of the world uses it, so did Pablo Escobar, a drug lord who had killed thousands of people. Government officials could finally track him down by tapping into the radiophone frequencies, identifying his communications and his location by following said frequency. By intercepting calls and frequencies, officials managed to take down one of the biggest drug cartels known to man. Yet, now we feel that our privacy isn't safe because of how susceptible we are to all the risks that we think exist. Ladies and gentlemen, solving issues does likely create other issues. This is how the human race thrives. This is how we evolve. Just as we're competing now is proof that humankind excels through competitions. We constantly compete in order to learn, grow, and move forward for the betterment of all of our lives. Reality is, whether you like it or not, we will keep competing, even with our previous revolutionary innovations. And to survive, when we are faced with a challenge, we persevere, we push beyond our limits. And since we're all here, I am sure that we know this to be true. We do not turn our backs to injustice. We do not shy away from obstacles. We rise, we conquer. With all the risks that we currently may have, we cannot deny that there is a major convenience that comes with modernization. The reality is, my friends, is that there is no going back. The only option is to move forward, because time will not let us do that. So ask yourself this. Are you willing to pace forward and continue fighting the odds like what we do best as humans? Or get left behind, stuck with the dust? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivanka. Your time was 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Go humanity. So,
Wow.
Degi?
Well, to be honest, it's kind of funny that in a speech competition right now, I am currently speechless.
Agreed.
Well, let's just say I'm a really cat person, and I totally agree that if you have nothing to hide, when what is it that you have to fear? But let us hear the questions from our three judges.
All right.
Judge Amanda, if you may.
Yes, thank you, Ivanka. I was shocked when you mentioned my name at first, but that was okay. I was literally exposed everywhere. I was kind of scared, but thank you so much for that. It was a really cool introduction, actually. But I think in your speech, I really like the content and how contentful it was, but I don't think you actually explained enough about the government responsibility in it. I don't think it was, explanatory by itself. So I think I really want to ask, who do you think has a better way of responsibility in keeping our privacy confidential? The users themselves, or should the house or the government take an action on it? Please explain your reasoning. Thank you so much.
Okay. As careful as we can be, if we are connected to a satellite from any of our gadgets, which we all have in an abundance, we can still be tracked. That's like the highest, most intrusive level of data breach, if you want to say. But again, there is a limit to what a regular person can find online. The higher the data, the higher the data is in the level of its intrusion, the smaller the number of parties that could have access to it. But there is no denying that there is an amount of power one can have to us regular citizens. So in my opinion, it's we can do our best to take in control of it, but again, it's not on our hands eventually at the end of the day. And it is up to these powerful forces, up to these powerful hands. We could just pray that our livelihood is in their hands in the best way it could. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kamanda, for your question. And next up, we got my fellow dog person, Kak Bita, if you may.
Okay, thank you, Isno. Thank you, Fanka. It's inevitable that everybody knows I have a super adorable Siberian Husky and I am an Oreo lover. So thank you for pointing that out. My question it's okay, so keep up with me on this one. I am also not a fan of blaming any other party, be it the government or service providers or softwares, for things that I'm partly involved in, because it's also me who provides them with my own data and I have the choice to not provide such information. So whenever there exists a tiny breach of privacy towards my personal data, I feel like it's partly my negligence to never read an application terms and conditions. It's my negligence to always put my credit card information out there in a sloppy manner in random online shop transactions. So the question is, I feel like you are somewhat implying that as humans, it's inevitable for us to accept the fact that we're only moving forward with technology and there's no other way other than to embrace it. So instead of asking you, what can the government do? What can the service providers do? The question is as simple as, for us, for the kind of people that is required to actually put our data out there to be consumed publicly, how selective can we be to protect our own data?
As I said in my answer earlier, even though we're very careful, as long as we're connected to a satellite, to the internet, we still can be found. There is still our data. We are numbers there. We are numbers in the system. So I guess that it's inevitable because we obviously, you said that we agreed to terms and conditions without even reading it. As you are a law student, you don't even read it, and so does the majority of us citizens of the world. But we all do this for ease. That's why you said your credit card or whatsoever, the information that is actually crucial to your livelihood and your money, your bank account. But I myself, even though I do not have a credit card, I have mobile banking. I think it's necessarily the same thing. It's connected. It's in the numbers, and we all do it for ease of our convenience. And I think the only way, if you really, really want to, live like this, you really want to live with so much caution, you can pick the opposite of ease, which is, choosing to do everything manually, as my fellow participants have said earlier. A lot of them already have mentioned so many ways that we can do this the most effectively. But maybe one thing they haven't really said is using a VPN. That could kind of alter your IP address and whatnot. But that's it, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Vanka.
Thank you, Garabita.
All right, thank you, Kak Bita, for the question. And last but not least, we got Kak Habibah. If you may ask your question.
Okay, the thing that I take from your speech are two things. The first one is that I like how you incorporate what you study as a business and a communication student. And secondly is that I need to stop talking about cats online. My question is that I'm going to talk business with you because here's the thing. You said that in the practice of business and marketing, you use data for ads purposes. And these ads that keep coming at us that have algorithm in it create us to consume more. In the context of creating a consumptive culture, that culture is I think, very detrimental in the long run. Consumptive culture had been the reason for obesity, the reason for environmental degradation. So my question is this: through your knowledge of data and marketing, is it possible to create an ethical marketing in that sense that would not perpetuate this consumptive culture?
Ideally, it would be very much possible. But as you mentioned about big data, I really want to study about it. I don't know much about it yet, but it is very useful for companies to find out their target and to get the right audience and the right consumers. And about the consumptive generation that we live in now, with the advancement of everything, technology, products, and everything, with the advancement of even food, people will always get more consumptive, and this is, the choice is in each of their hands. Ideally, companies could choose a better marketing way, a better way of marketing, like social marketing, or reach out more to a more personal state. But again, this is all ideal. Yes, of course, if I one day get to be at a position where I can make decisions, of course, I am one for bringing light into the world. And a consumptive culture is actually very concerning to me, and this could be this could be defeated by maybe making campaigns against certain consumptive behaviors. And these campaigns must be, it's not something that you can do in general, just say, you don't be consumptive. No, maybe some companies with their niche, they can encourage their customers to not be as consumptive. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Kak Bibah, for the question, and thank you so much, Ivanka, for the beautiful performance. And with that performance from Ivanka, I guess that concludes our competition for today, our final round, as well as our competition for this year, I guess. So, Degi, Fajrul, do you have anything more to add?
I would just like to say that from all of the speech competition that I've been in, this one has been the most surprising. And the fact is, I'm not even the participant. I am as the committee, and yet all the participants here that made it to the finals really blew my mind. Come on, guys, let's give one last applause for all of us that are able to be here today from all over Indonesia. Thank you very much. That's all that I gotta say. Like I said again, I'm speechless because you guys are the best.
Thank you so much, Degi. Fajrul, any last words?
I think I can give an explanation about this competition because I don't have any experience about speech competition, but I think this is a good or spectacular competition about speech. I think that.
All right, thank you so much. And once again, we would like to thank the participants, all of the participants of this year's Porsimaptar, especially because it is held virtually. Thank you so much for your participation, and we would like to remind all of you that the result of the final round of Porsimaptar speech competition will be announced through our Instagram. So don't forget to check our Instagram every once in a while. Thank
Don't
you so
forget
much
to check mine at
Yeah.
Degi Rajuandi.
Okay. Okay, Degi. Thank you so much for the judges and all of the participants. If there is nothing more to add to this competition, I guess we will just end it right here. So anything else? We're good? I guess we're all good. So once again, thank you so much. You guys have done a really great job. And for all the participants, you may leave the room chat.
Thank you all, and God bless
Thank you very much, guys. Great job.
Goodbye.